So, hey guys, this is just a quick video, kind of going over. I got a couple of emails saying, how do I find an article from the Washington Post? I know it's a credible source. Why can't I Google it? And I just want to walk you through a way to get around all that. Um, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So, what we want you to do is just to use the library database. So generally anything you find on Google, anything that you Google, you can find through your library database at CCP. And we want you to do it this way because one, if you find it in the library database, you know that it's a credible source, the sources have been vetted, and two, it's just a smart way to work. So I'm gonna go to my CCP. So I'm in my CCP now, I logged in. And you're gonna hit the library database by scrolling down to student quick links, hitting on library. You're gonna go to databases, A to Z database list. So depending on what you're looking for, depending on what your topic is, you want to kind of focus on this database list. So here are all the databases that we have on my CCP. These are CCP library databases. This is where we want you to do all of your research. So depending on what your topic is, you're going to pick the database that you feel like works most for you. So if I'm doing something about African American history, I would go there. If I'm doing something about, there's so much, there's so many databases. Arts and humanities, I can go there. If I'm doing something about, I don't know, food in America, I can go there. Like there's a ton of databases, but most of you are doing current events. And so for current events, my favorite database is Opposing Viewpoints. I think it's the most user-friendly for current events. And so I'm just gonna, this is all in alphabetical order. So I'm just gonna click on that. Oh, it takes me to Opposing Viewpoints in Context. So I would just do my search. And so I was just came out of a meeting with a student who was doing her project on child abuse. I would just put child abuse in the search engines. And then I would, it gives you everything. It gives you background information. It gives you all of these sources, academic journals. It gives you magazines. It gives you news articles. So it's a smarter way to work. So I'm going to click on academic journals first, and just to point out some things for you. So there is a handout posted in the modules this week talking about how you do an in-text citation for when you're using APA format for a source. If you're going to, quote or paraphrase, it kind of walks you through that. And that's just a matter of kind of memorizing the format. But what I love about this database is that it does a lot of the work for you. So if I click on this source, identifying intentional injuries among children and adolescents based on machine learning, and I can access the source, I can do all that cool stuff. But I love this because if I scroll all the way down, if you're working in APA format, you have to have a reference list at the end of the paper. So if I go to APA, it does it for me. So, and as opposed to me having to kind of come up with and follow a format to put that, to get the source on the reference list to cite it, it just does all the work. And so I would just copy and paste this and put it on my reference list. So any source that I would look up, I would just copy and paste. This is also a smart way to work because you can also email the source to yourself. And so if I click on email, you would put to your own email, from your own email, and then you can give yourself a brief message about the source. I would always email the source to myself just because people actually have, you find a really great source and then you lose it for whatever reason, like you can't find it again in the database. So just as a backup, as a precaution, just email it to yourself. The last thing I'm going to talk about, because some people were like, well, I already found stuff from, on Google. Like I wanted to use this thing because I found it in Google. So here is an article. I'm going to go back. So here is an article that this student found that's from the Washington Post. And we don't want you to use Google, so this gets around using Google. And so what she did, what we did in conference is we just kind of copied and paste the title of the article into opposing viewpoints. And once I do that, the article comes up. And here's the article that she wants from the Washington Post. So if you've already found an article from the New York Times or the Washington Post or wherever you're looking for at, then you can put the title of the article here, and that'll get around you having to use Google. So in terms of your citation, because when I click on here, because I'm using CCP's database, when I come to the citation that would go in the reference, Google is nowhere on this, right? So when we talk about you not using Google, all we're saying is that we want you to use this database. So you want to move away from using Google as a search engine and use the CCP library database as your search engine. And that kind of gets around, running into sources that might not be credible, that might not be vetted. It just gets around all that, particularly if your professor, as in this case, is like, we don't want you to use Google. This is how you get around it. Again, you can find the Washington Post and the New York Times on this search engine because they are credible sources. We just want you to come here first. All right, so I'm going to stop my share. That's pretty much it. You want to just take your time with this. So you have the model about how to do the summary and then how to kind of formulate your research question. And so you want to summarize the article, right? And then you just want to kind of talk about how this article and kind of motivated your research question, and also kind of what else you might see going around that happening in larger society that applies to this article. It has to be between 2 to 3 pages. Just take your time. But I really wanted to go over the search engine thing in Google because I got a lot of emails about that. All right, so good luck. If you have any questions or concerns over the weekend, just shoot me an email and you'll be fine. Just take your time, you'll be fine. Take care.